This is the Brewers POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Milwaukee Brewers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The Brewers setting the tone early in this one, coming out swinging in the nation's capital there. 3 runs in the first inning, and they simply never looked back in this one. Brandon Woodruff locked in. We'll talk about his start over the course of the show. The offense, as we had mentioned, the 3 runs in the first inning, staying hot, and now 5 wins in their last 6 games. And the division lead in the National League Central keeps on growing for the Brew Crew. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Locked On Brewers POSTCAST. My name is Brandon Snide. You can follow me over on X, formerly Twitter, at Brandon_Snide, and follow all of my work as well over at WTMJ.com, covering all of Wisconsin sports teams. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On Brewers part of your day each and every day. Remember, we are free and available wherever you get audio podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, a bunch of other terrific apps, as well as over on YouTube. Just go to that search bar, type in Locked On Brewers, hit that subscribe button for me, hit that notification bell, get notified when we go live, and do me one quick favor, hit that thumbs up on the videos, as well as drop a comment, because your thoughts, your reactions, and of course, after an 8-2 Brewers win, your celebrations are always welcomed on the program. We'll get to that. We'll get to Brandon Woodruff. We'll get to the offense. Unfortunately, we'll talk about the Sal Frelick early exit in today's ball game. But first, let's begin with the scoring summary. Today brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. And I'm going to tell you right now, it did not take long for the turning point in this game to get started in an 8-2 Milwaukee Brewers win.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
First inning, man, that's the difference in this ball game for the Brewers, and not really necessarily the difference in runs scored, but the tone that they set in the first inning is today's turning point. Sal Frelick, he would exit the game later on, but he would lead off the game with the double, followed by a William Contreras walk. Christian Yelich would single. That would score Sal Frelick. Then Isaac Collins would follow that with a hit of his own. That would score William Contreras. Then Perkins, who has been starting for the injured Jackson Chourio, would single. That would score Christian Yelich. And before you know it, Brandon Woodruff, before he steps on the mound, before he takes a step onto the field, has a 3-run lead in Washington. For me, the turning point in this one, it set the tone. I've mentioned it before. It gave Woody that run support, and it really kind of got this Brewers offense going in the right direction, piggybacking off of what they did the night before. 25 hits on Friday night, 15 hits today, 40 combined hits in the first 2 games of this series in Washington, and the Brewers took it off right away. And then the second inning, Contreras would ground into a double play, but that would score a run as well. That would give the Brewers a 4-run advantage. Then in the third inning, Christian Yelich quietly, I don't want to say quietly, but, because Andrew Vaughn's been fantastic, and Sal Frelick, was fantastic today, 2 for 2 before he would leave in the game. But Christian Yelich, 3 for 4 this afternoon in Washington, including in that third inning, a solo shot, almost 400 feet there to center field. That would give the Brewers a 5-0 advantage. Washington would respond in the bottom half of that third. Robert Hassel would homer to right field. That would be a 2-run home run. So Washington kind of climbing back into things a tad bit, but the Brewers just tacking on later in the 8th inning, a Bryce Train. Fantastic day today at the plate for Bryce Terrain, which we are going to talk about how much that is going to be really important going forward. Brandon Lockridge also in the 8th inning would hit a sacrifice fly to right field. That would score Bryce Terrain after he had that earlier double. That would give the Brewers a 7-2 advantage. And then Isaac Collins, I mentioned his name not once, but now twice, would double to center field in the top of the 9th inning, and that would score Christian Yelich. And ladies and gentlemen, that would cap off an 8-2 Brewers win, 22 games over 500, 66-44 on the season, a 6-game buffer over 500 on the road now, 30-24 on the road are the Brew Crew. So winning on the road, important. We had talked about in May when this team was kind of in a little bit of a funk and a little bit of a hole. In order for them to get things going, they got to get that away record turned into the right direction. And boy, have they ever. A fantastic performance all around for this Brewers team. We have mentioned Sal Frelick going 2 for 2 before he left. Isaac Collins with a handful of hits. Christian Yelich was fantastic. The offense, as we mentioned, with 15 hits, but nobody on the offense will get the player of the game in an 8-2 Brewers win.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Since he has come back off of that serious injury, Brandon Woodruff has been nothing but fantastic. And it continued on today in the nation's capital. 6 innings pitched for Big Woo, 8 strikeouts, and boy, was he efficient in this one too. 1 hit Brandon Woodruff gave up, which included a Robert Hassel home run. The only 2 runs he would give up in this one. He struck out 8 batters, pitched 6 full innings, and only threw 88 pitches. And 60 of them landed for strikes. Efficient early and often. His first inning, just a handful of pitches needed. And again, the first inning in this one, and I mentioned it offensively speaking as being the turning point in this game where the Brewers put once again another crooked number up. But it's also the turning point in this game because it's so pivotal for any team, but certainly for this Brewers team, that when you put a crooked number up on the box, in the box score, when you put up 3 in the first inning, to turn right around and shut down the opposing offense in less than 10 pitches. And that's exactly what Brandon Woodruff did in the bottom of the first inning. That right there set the tone for this one. And you knew, you knew because Washington's also not a great team, but you saw him put up some good numbers, a decent amount of runs last night on Easton McGee. So you knew they had it in them to be, a team that can score. Certainly has some young talent on there, sort of in a rebuild. I shouldn't say sort of, but they are in another rebuilding mode. But you knew that once you were able to put up 3 early in this game, and the offense looked like it was going to keep rolling, like it did. Yeah, handful of hits in the first inning. And then Brandon Woodruff shoves in the bottom of the first inning, needs less than 10 pitches. I don't know about you. Certainly for me going forward, I was already kind of in my mind preparing to talk about their 5th win in their last 6 games because they just continue to do the right things early and often against these teams. We had seen it kind of the other way around as they had won, their last few games against the Cubs and Washington, where they have to come from behind and kind of win. When you're able to get out in front early and you got Brandon Woodruff who's dealing, good things tend to happen for this team. So a good start for the Brewers offense and a great start for Brandon Woodruff. He's your Locked On Brewers postcast player of the game, but I would be remiss to not mention it earlier, Christian Yelich today, this afternoon down there as well. 3 for 4, as we had talked about, including a home run. He scored 3 times. He had 2 runs batted in. Very, very crucial going forward without Jackson Chourio, potentially without Sal Frelick, that Christian Yelich continues to do what he does. Is every game is he going to have 3 for 4, including a home run and a couple of RBIs? Probably not, but more consistent numbers from Christian Yelich. We had talked about that batting average, 255 last night. After today, that batting average has now crept up to 260. We talked about 265 maybe being that line for Christian Yelich would be ideal for him to get into. He's on his way there. We'll see it again tomorrow afternoon. We'll see him in a very winnable series against the Braves. So good things trending for Christian Yelich going forward. Brandon Woodruff once again, and the bats setting the tone in this one. We'll get to the Sal Frelick injury. We'll talk about the concerns you have in regards to not only Sal Frelick, but as well as Jackson Chourio. And of course, the Brewers won 8-2. This is the show for the fans. Your voice, your thoughts, your concerns, your celebrations, all of that on the program coming up right after this. Today's Locked On Brewers postcast is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Time to fuel up and turn it into a 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, of course, but it turns into a quick, energizing shot, whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends. This one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. And let's be honest, some days on the golf course or off it, if you're like me today, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and stay energized. And right now, 5-Hour Energy is offering a deal for you. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, You can use my promo code LOCKEDONGolf. Again, I know we're talking about Brewers baseball and another Brewers win, but if you use the promo code LOCKEDONGolf, you receive 20% off of your order. 20% off. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription or orders as well. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5-hour energy shots today. Once again, 5hourenergy.com, code locked on MLB golf for 20% off. 15 more hits for the Brewers offense, now 60-2 when leading after 8 innings. 40 now combined total hits in the first 2 games of this series against the Nationals, and even better yet, the cherry on top this afternoon before the sun even sets here in Milwaukee, the Cubs losing to Baltimore 4-3 today. So yes, that means the Brewers now have a 2-game lead on the Chicago Cubs in the race for the National League Central Division. Really, really good things for the Brewers offensively speaking. I kind of forgot to mention it. 7 times this afternoon down there in Washington was the leadoff hitter on base today for Milwaukee. We have not seen this offense, even during parts of that 11-game win streak, where sometimes those games were a little tough. You win a game 2-0, you come from behind late. The offense really sparking this team as of late. It obviously helps when you have Brandon Woodruff tossing 6 innings and only allowing 2 runs and 1 hit, but this offense has been setting the tone, even if they're coming from behind, as we saw against the Chicago Cubs, and then they bounce right back and are able to set a tone early and often in these games. So fantastic performance from the Brewers offense, a fantastic performance from Big Woo on the mound. Bullpen appearances from Jared Koenig. I had somebody ask me on Twitter at Brandon_Snide, why is Abner Uribe out there? Well, he hasn't pitched in 4 or 5 days. I think game 2, where the Brewers beat the Cubs 8-4. I think that was the final of that game. That was the last time we saw Abner Uribe. So he needed to get some work in. He tosses 1 inning of work, doesn't allow much of anything, 1 hit. And then Nick Mears closing it out in the bottom half of the 9th on 8 pitches. Only 8 pitches thrown for both Mears and Abner Uribe. So good opportunity for both of those guys who haven't pitched. Remember, the Brewers had a big win last night. They had an off day on Thursday, had a big loss on Wednesday. So these guys have not pitched. So it was pivotal to get them rolling in the right direction going forward. Let's begin with your thoughts, your reactions after the Brewers beat the Nationals by a final of 8-2, 22 games over 500. Greens Farm, our everydayer, saying team baseball is the best baseball. Yes, and today certainly felt like it was a full team effort. Everybody kind of chipping in. Bryce Terrain, as we had mentioned at the beginning of the show, it is going to be huge. We don't know what Sal Frelick right now. It was a precautious move from the Brewers as what's being reported for knee soreness. When Sal scored, I believe it was in the first inning. Don't quote me on when exactly it happened. I believe it was in the first inning when Sal scored. It didn't look like he was running full speed. It didn't look like the body language was great for Sal Frelick and that effort going from second to home. We'll see going forward. I'm sure the Brewers will play it safe. I would anticipate that you don't see him tomorrow. But Sal's a guy that's going to give it his all every time he's out there. So when he's out there, he'll be healthy. But unfortunately for him, that's the only kind of downside on today's 8-2 win. You mix that in with Jackson Chourio, obviously unknown how long, he's going to be out for, but not great right now for the Brewers, but you're still able to score 24 runs in the first 2 games. And again, I don't really care who you play against. 24 runs, over 40 hits in the first 2 games of any series is really good for this Brewers team. So keep going, with that momentum and need guys like William Contreras. You're going to need guys, as you've used, like Andrew Vaughn. Obviously, we talked about the importance of Christian Yelich, but for Bryce Terrain as well. Remember, go back to March, go back to April, early parts of May. Bryce Terrain was in your leadoff spot. Bryce Terrain was one of your best hitters. Bryce Terrain was being talked about maybe a potential all-star, in the early parts of the season based on his early play. 275 batting average for Bryce after this afternoon's 3 for 5, where he scored a run as well. So you're going to need him going forward as well, depending on what the prognosis is with Sal Frelick. Dominic over on YouTube. Sal taken out of the game as precaution. Can we please make it to the playoffs fully healthy for once? Go Brewers. Yeah, we just kind of discussed that. I appreciate your comment, Dominic. Thank you very much. Yeah, the injury, it's beginning to get a little worrisome if you're a Brewers fan, and I won't lie to you, and I certainly won't tell you how to feel. For me, it's worrisome. Anytime it's a soft tissue injury, as the case is with Jackson Chourio, I'm worried. A knee injury with Sal Frelick, I don't know if it's the same knee as it was with the hamstring, and could they be related somehow? I don't know. Not a doctor. I'm not going to try to tell you, but I would just giving you my quick thoughts on it. But it is frustrating because Sal has been one of your best offensive players, also one of your best defensive players out there in right field, and then Jackson Chourio, who's fresh off a 20-game hit streak, during the month of July, who's been absolutely fantastic. So that's the frustrating part about it. And outside of your starting pitchers, for the most part, it's been a pretty healthy season for your positional players for the Brewers. So now you're starting to see things kind of tighten up in the National League Central, tighten up in the National League as a whole. Now games are a little bit more important, a little bit more focused on box score watching, as I was with the Cubs and the Orioles this afternoon in Wrigley. And now you're starting to be like, okay, come on. Like, we're finally got over the hump. We finally caught up to the Cubs. We got things rolling in the right direction. Our pitchers are back to being healthy. And then you lose your stud in Jackson Chourio. And then you potentially lose your stud after you already lost him for 10 days on the IL with the hamstring injury in Sal Frelick. Like, this team cannot afford anything else. Like, it was an outfield full of depth, but now we're dipping into that depth. And we saw it, what the Brewers front office thought about that when they made the trade for Brandon Lockridge, who got the appearance today for Sal Frelick out there in right field. And that trade that they sent away Nestor Cortes. So it was obviously something on the Brewers' mind as well. Jay Andrews over on Twitter celebrating that the Brewers are now 2 games up in the National League Central Division. Absolutely. I thought the Cubs had that game in the books. They were up 3-0. I think it was Gunnar Henderson in the 8th inning hit a 3-run home run or 2-run home run, something like that, to kind of give to give the Orioles that lead going into the back half of the 8th and in the 9th inning. So the Orioles hanging on for the win, doing the Brewers a solid and holding off the Cubs. Charles, part of our everydayers. I love when Charles is on the live stream. He says, and they, in quotation, say our offense is bad. 40 hits in 2 days. Guess the guys took all the talk at the trade deadline personally. And I can guarantee you, I'm not in the clubhouse during Pat Murphy's when he's addressing the team and whatnot, but I can almost guarantee you, if you talk about, the power of the pocket pancake that Pat Murphy has, I can almost guarantee you that he has made note, in pregame, postgame, off days, to what people are saying to his team. He's a motivator. I mean, he's a motivator, and I can guarantee you he's reminding his players every single day that nobody believes in this team outside, of course, of you and I. I guarantee it. I guarantee you that's what he's doing. And he's right, because what are we talking about after the trade deadline? Brewers are being mentioned as, I saw a grade of I think the Athletic had him at a C-. I saw one that had him at a D+. Like, again, I kind of talked about it last night, but if I had told you, and I don't want to repeat myself, but now that we're on the topic because of our wonderful everydayer Charles, if I told you at the trade deadline that you got Quinn Priester, you got Andrew Vaughn, you acquired a backup catcher, an upgrade offensively and defensively in Danny Jensen, and I would tell you that Shelby Miller, who eventually will make his way into the bullpen, and you're able to now use some of your starting pitching depth, as we had seen. Robert Gasser could be on his way back as a middle relief. Chad Patrick could be used potentially in the bullpen as per Pat Murphy. If I told you those things were happening at the trade deadline, I think it would look, fans and certainly writers would look at this team a lot differently at what they did at the trade deadline. The Brewers, like Pat Murphy had said, Matt Arnold's been in the trade deadline since the beginning of the year. Since you were down to Freddie Peralta as being your only starter, they have been in trade deadline mode. Andrew Vaughn has been one of the best hitters, if not the best hitter, in almost a month now throughout all of baseball. 6 home runs, like we mentioned last night, more home runs in a Brewers uniform in 17 games than he had in almost 50 games as a White Sox. So going forward, yeah, obviously, the big splashes, Eugenio Suarez was a big splash for Seattle. Outside of that, there's nothing else throughout baseball. Mason Miller, but the Brewers are pretty loaded at the back end of their bullpen. That moves the needle for me. There's nothing that really does that was dealt, throughout the trade deadline. Everydayer woodworking outdoorsmen love the relentless attack throughout the game. Again, the Brewers are the scariest team in baseball. That would be the comment of the day, because I could not agree more with you. Nobody wants to play this team. Everybody I talk to outside of the city of Milwaukee that covers other teams or that are part of other organizations always talk to me about, how do you guys do it? Like, what is the formula? How do you do it? Like, you're the best record in baseball. In May, you were a handful of games under 500. It looked like at one point Freddie was your only pitcher, and you just are able to make things work. And that's with a tougher, that schedule from May into June wasn't easy. And obviously the big test for the Spurs team is going to be the month of August with 19 games in 18 days. But they're relentless. It's the one way to describe it. It doesn't matter. Jackson Chourio goes out. Blake Perkins, first game in for Jackson Chourio, 2-run home run game. You can't make these things up. Andrew Vaughn, grand slam, helps really kind of push the game over the edge for the Brewers against the Cubs. I mean, guys that weren't necessarily stepping up earlier in the year or weren't even really a part of this team, no matter where you plug them, they're performing. Joey Ortiz, another extra base hit this afternoon. So he's starting to slowly get things going. Isaac Collins, who nobody had on their radar earlier in the year, 2 hits again, including a double this afternoon. Christian Yelich, we mentioned his name. If he can stay healthy and continue to be a little bit more consistent, that batting average keeps climbing up for Yelly. That's going to be problems, as is William Contreras, a guy who has kind of struggled, and we know about the finger injury that really has plagued him all year long. If he has, and it seems like in the last 18 games, he's kind of turned things around. So this is, even with those injuries, unfortunately, with Sal Frelick and Jackson Chourio, it's still a team nobody wants to play. D-Dubs, Everydayer over on YouTube, says this Brewers team is just so dang fun to watch. I'm biased, D-Dubs, and I think a lot of us in here probably are. I don't watch other teams as clearly as I watch my favorite Brewers, but I don't know if there's a more fun team to watch. I find it hard. Anthony Siegler coming off the bench today, bunting for a base hit. Isaac Collins, as we had mentioned, nobody knew who he was. It was not a household name throughout any team, throughout anybody, coming in and extra base hits. Blake Perkins hitting 2 home runs. It's just interesting and kind of fun, quite frankly, is really the word for it. But it's just, this team is so interesting. They're so interesting because they can beat you in so many different ways. And we've seen it, right? You score 16 runs, you win. You shut out a team 2-0, you win. You come from behind in the bottom of the ninth and win. We've seen it. Offense carrying you, defense carrying you, starting pitching carrying you, bullpen carrying you. Miz doesn't have his greatest game. Everybody kind of starts worrying a little bit. Brewers are down 3-0. What do? They respond offensively, score 8 runs, and kind of put the Cubs away in that game. So it's a very, very, very fun team. It's a relentless team. They are literally, like I tell you, I stole it from Robert Saleh, from the former head coach of the New York Jets. They drag teams out to the deep end of the pool and see if they can swim. And if they can't, and a lot of them can't, the Brewers win. And that's just what they're doing. It's a 9-inning boxing match with some of these, with some of these teams against the Brewers, because they are going to give it their all no matter what the score is. Ed over on YouTube says, hope Vaughn can keep hitting like this. That would answer the need for first base going forward. The talent for Vaughn, to me, was always there. You're the 3rd overall pick for a reason. It wasn't even that long ago. It was a very bad situation in Chicago. Not a great organization. I know they're playing better baseball as of late, but this Brewers organization has done wonders for a lot of different players. And we've seen that, most recently, just look at Willie Adames, and what was going on in Tampa for him. And he comes to Milwaukee and he absolutely rakes and he gets paid. I mean, it seems to be the place. It's a great organization for players to kind of get things going. The coaching staff has been fantastic, whether it's up here in Milwaukee, whether it's down in Nashville or the other minor league organizations. It seems like winners are all around all these guys. So a fantastic performance for the Brewers. Once again, an 8-2 win over the Washington Nationals. They'll look for the sweep tomorrow with Jacob Mizorowski on the mound for the Brewers. A show note, no postcast tomorrow. My apologies in advance. My daughter is turning 10, so we will have about 1,500 fifth graders running around the house and swimming and whatnot. So I will have the game on, but we will not have a post game show. My apologies out to all of you for that. We'll pick things back up on Monday, but the Brewers win this afternoon, 8-2 over the Nationals, 22 games over 500 now, back-to-back wins in the nation's capital. They'll go for the sweep tomorrow. My name is Brandon Snide. You can follow me on Twitter at Brandon_Snide. Follow all of my work over at WTMJ.com. And remember, wherever you get audio podcasts, you can get this very postcast as well. Apple, Google, Spotify, a bunch of other great podcast apps, as well as over on YouTube. Just go to that search bar, type in Locked On Brewers, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and do me a solid, hit that thumbs up video, and we'll talk about more Brewers wins down the road. Now 2 games over the Cubs in the National League Central as it stands right now, and they'll look for the Brooms tomorrow in Washington. As always, my thanks to each and every one of you, and win, lose, or draw, but it certainly feels good after back-to-back wins. It is always go Brewers. Have a good one, everyone. Thank you.